Ravi, given what's happening in the world, first US banks and now European banks, is it's a general reminder for everyone that 2008 also started like this. What looked like a spark, we started using the word decoupling, but then we realized in the world that there is nothing called decoupling, it's a flat world. What is your understanding of the crisis in the world, and could this snowball into something very big?
No, so definitely one has to be cautious and skeptical or about what's happening in the world. Though I really believe that the risks in the world comes from unknown, and not to say that we know what is happening, but there is a playbook already available, and a decade is not too long back. You know, it's still fresh in people's mind how that crisis played out, one after the other, domino falling. That was a crisis of balance sheet to a very large extent, and for a for something that was done for decades together. I mean, wrong business practices carried on for decades, and suddenly then people realized. Well, over here it is still limited to some regional banks, some odd, one or so European banks, and the response time from the central bank is far quicker than it was during global financial crisis. So we will have new crises that will engulf us at some point of time. But at this point, it is pretty clear, or I would say, you can think 2 steps ahead, and even central banks can think 2 steps ahead. And you can see last weekend, SVB's depositors were
Rescued.
underwritten. And this week, UBS Credit Suisse deal has happened. The swiftness with which the central banks are acting tells you that they will prevent, hopefully, be able to prevent a much larger global crisis this time.
So it's time to look through the crisis.
I won't say it's time to look through the crisis, but India, on the other hand, is still an oasis in the world. Again, I won't use the word decouple because global flows are pretty much coupled. Economies can behave slightly differently, but in the short run, we are all driven by the flows, and the flows are global in nature. So as I mentioned, that even though Indian banks are doing well, but that is the only place from where FIs can actually take quick liquidity out if they are facing trouble elsewhere. So that is leading to some really good opportunity getting created in the Indian financial space. So I am not worried about the crisis. It might lead to some amount of underperformance or the stock prices going further below from here. But I would say that is an opportunity for somebody who has a more than 2-3 years horizon.
Okay. The themes which were showcased at the ValueQuest Inflection Day, number one was financials. That is one of your largest holdings. What gives you the confidence that financials have a long way to go? And my add-on to that question is that A, financials as a category have done well. B, they're struggling for new deposits. And C, typically if interest rate trajectory is evident, it appears that best of the NIMs are behind them. Isn't best of the banking behind us?
No, in fact, the rising interest rate is actually positive for the NIMs for the banks. It's a negative for the NBFCs. But coming back to your question about the financials being the large theme, see, if you just reverse back a little, 2017, 18, 19, that was the real tough period when we were still trying to clean up our balance sheet, where the IL&FS crisis had happened, and there was real crunch in the credit economy. People who wanted money were not getting. Today, the money is still available. Okay, it is getting a little expensive. It was probably available at 7%. Now it is available at 8.5%. I am saying liquidity is not an issue so much right now in India. The balance sheet of the banks are pretty clean. The credit growth has just come back. The confidence in the corporates to start investing for the future has begun, and it is picking up. Government is leading from the front on that front. So I don't see Indian banks underperforming at all. Over the next 3, 4, 5-year period, I feel, and the kind of new technology that is coming in and the way financialization is happening in India, India is going to be one of the largest themes in the world, and we don't know yet all the implications of it and how big this can become. We are underpenetrated across category. The number of bank accounts and all have just opened. The second, third order effect of this will be visible over the next half to 1 decade. So So I would say absolutely stay invested in the financials for the next few years.
There were 4 companies, and I had the pleasure of even seeing their conference, at the conference, what they were showcasing about their sector and their business model. AU Financials, Praj, Vari, Datamatics, Keynes.
Data patterns.
Data patterns and Keynes. So I'm assuming that these are your portfolio companies?
Yes, they do have a presence in our portfolio, but a disclaimer over there. I mean, whatever we talk about, it will be more for illustrative purposes. We are not going to talk about the stock price or any such thing.
Yeah, but that's in public domain that they came for the conference.
Yeah, I mean, see, we essentially presented the mega trends, and the 4 mega trends are financialization, manufacturing, the consumption J curve, and energy transition. And within each of these sectors, what we did is we called the authorities on those topics over there who can enlighten us more on these topics. So the idea was more to make people see 5-10 years ahead, and these are the people those who are riding the trends. Okay, there's a mega trend that is happening and somebody is at the forefront of it. I think they have a better vision than us in terms of what lies ahead. So that was the kind of the motive behind getting those people to talk to us.
So there was Praj and there was Vari. One is in solar, other is in ethanol machinery or biofuel. So which means that as a theme, apart from financials, you think it's going to be energy transition?
Absolutely. I think energy transition is a huge theme. See, and it is not anymore driven only by regulation. It is driven by economics. Solar today is the cheapest source of power available anywhere ever. Okay, we have not had this cheap power ever for humanity. And now the beauty of it is available most of the places in the world. It is not restricted to few geographies like it is in the case of coal or crude for that matter. So this is a democratization of energy, and it will have far-reaching geopolitical impact which we cannot imagine today. There are so many wars have been fought because of limited resources, and now suddenly energy is not going to be that factor. Energy is going to be available. I'm talking about 10 years, 20 years from now. So it is a huge trend that has started, and there is a global push. See, there is on the S curve, there is a early adoption, and it's good to have kind of a thing, but once it reaches a particular inflection point, then it becomes a mass movement. And I believe solar is way past the tipping point everywhere in the world. US has just begun because of the Inflation Reduction Act, the kind of incentives they have given to the green economy. It is going to provide further push. And solar is actually the backbone of all, because to convert any energy into clean, you need solar at the back end. Yes, solar might not be the best in terms of efficiency. For every, there is only 25% retention in the overall scheme of things. But it's undeniable that the solar penetration is here to stay. The problem in India is that there are very few ways available to play this theme. And hence, I mean, whatever limited plays are available, we are trying to get them. Vari, in fact, is still an unlisted company. And so we brought companies from the listed as well as the unlisted space. Praj is on the biofuel. A lot of people consider Praj or the food versus fuel debate and it not being a very desirable thing. But as what we believe is that humanity is facing a real big crisis, and this is all hands on the deck approach. It is not about this technology is better and this is slightly worse off in the medium term. You have to deploy anything and everything that is available to ensure that the dramatic rise of the temperature in the world does not go beyond the tipping point. So we have to put everything that is available. And also, it is not a one size fit all. Some country might have a huge agri waste, and that is a good thing. You know, people, you can generate energy from it. Yeah. So finally, it is about capturing the solar energy. The plants have been doing that since forever. We are only converting that energy back into a usable form. Either it is in terms of fuel or it is in terms of electricity. So I sincerely believe that energy transition is a mega trend.